Hello everybody, I have an EZGO golf cart. It has a Kawasaki motor FJ400DC60885 on it. Now, having carburetor problems. I already went through a battery issue, changed the spark plug, and it's just not running well. So first thing you need to do is take the belt off. I take the belt off, you make sure it's off, right? Check the pedal, make sure nothing moves on you because you're gonna have your fingers down in here. So we're gonna remove the carburetor. Tools I need is a flat tip screwdriver, 10 millimeter, and a pair of pliers. So first thing I did with the pliers, I took this clamp off, and you can take this breather hose off. Boom, gone. Next thing is you take your flat tip, undo your clamp, boom, take it off so you don't drop it, put it off to the side, move your hose out of the way. Your 10 millimeter comes into these two screws. You can't put a box end on it. It won't fit on it. Everything's too tight. So, I mean, not a box end, but a socket. So what I use is a box end 10 millimeter. I already pre-loosened these because I don't want to waste your time. So I pre-loosened them. And I've already done repairs to this carburetor. I have one over on the bench that I'm going to show you. Just take that off. Take this one off. Take your 10 millimeter. Then you're going to go to your choke. Now you can pull this plate off and then you're going to manipulate, you can manipulate your choke wire, but you end up bending it and after a while you could wear it out. So what I do is just loosen your choke. Take this plate off. There's a gasket that goes on this. I'm going to put a new one on to the carburetor. Make sure that's in place when you put it back together. Pull your choke over, bend it slightly, and it will come out of this. Bend it slightly, it'll come out of this notch. Remember, I'm trying to do it one-handed here. And there it comes out. Now your choke cable's off. Just move it off to the side. Next, your throttle cable. Throttle arm or throttle cable. This little arm, this plastic arm, push it away. Lift up on it, and it'll come out of that hole. And just lift up, push it back. All right, and take your fuel line off. Make sure you have something under it. It will drain. I have a shut-off valve that I put in. You can shut it off. Inline filter. And then take it off. Now, I already did this carburetor. So, this carburetor had issues, and I'll tell you where it was. So, now let's go over to the workbench. All right, workbench. It's another OEM carburetor. I done it a while ago. I already cleaned it, serviced it, and checked it. So, problem with these carburetors, a lot of people don't check, are these two holes right here. I use a oxygen acetylene kit, torch tip cleaner, and that's what I use. Put it down in there and make sure it's clear. That one that was running rough had something blocking it on this side. Now flip it over. You need a Phillips screwdriver. You take your Phillips screwdriver and you take that little Phillips screw out. I'll flip it over here and I'll show you. So you take this little screw out right here. This goes in the top of that Welch plug in that cavity. Then you can take your cleaner. I'll do it over a trash can. And make sure it comes out. Sure enough. The other one wasn't coming out, it was clogged. So it wasn't venturing correctly and it wasn't running right. Next thing you do is you're going to go ahead and pull your drain plug, your bowl cap, your bowl plug. That's a 12 millimeter. You'll pull this off and the bowl will come off. Don't lose your gasket. There's your little gasket on there. Don't lose your little screw. Now, put it in a magnetic tray. And then it comes off. I already cleaned and serviced this one. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take a flat tip. Take a flat tip screwdriver. And you see the jet right here? This siphon tube does not come out like some carburetors. That stays in there. But this jet has to come out because you got to clean it. It's got a little hole in it. And that's where your tip cleaner comes into play again, because all the cleaning tips on it that you need are on there and actually fits it really well and won't hurt it. So then you find your tip, the right size hole, and you just and that's the one, and just run it through and make sure it's cleaned out. Then you can take a look at it with a light, take your parts cleaner, clean it out, take your parts cleaner and go in here, go through the Venturi, clean it out, take your parts cleaner and go up against these holes where you cleaned out the Venturi jets right here. got good flow coming out. Clean it all out, clean it out. And make sure your float's okay. Check it. And then make sure your gasket's okay. And then that should be adequate enough to restore this carburetor back to operating. This is from another customer. I gave him a brand new one to get him on the road. And I took his old one and I took time and cleaned and serviced it. I don't always want to put these back in after I clean them because sometimes I'll have issues with them. Sometimes I don't. But I keep them around in case I have issues with mine or they come back and then I have one immediately on the shelf. I'm pretty confident this one's okay because I cleaned it really well. Done an ultrasonic sink, soaked it. Now put all your screws back in. Don't forget this little Phillips one on the top for the Welch plug. You know that's all cleaned out. Start them carefully. You don't want to strip them. Don't have to torque down hard on them. Just snug them up. And then in that carburetor, put your bowl back on. So this one here faces that way. Put the bowl screw facing air in it. That way if you need to get to it, see if there's any sediment or water in it, you can. I've never really opened them much. Sometimes I do to see if the pump's pumping. Tighten it up, snug it up. And that carburetor is ready to go back in service. I already marked it what date. This one's 2 years old, been sitting on my shelf. But I'm pretty confident it's ready to go. And that's it. Site with your carburetor and work it in opposite order you took it apart. Okay? Make sure you got a gasket right here between it and the body. Put it back on. Put your fuel line back on. Run your throttle back in there. Bring the throttle catch arm over. Then you can go ahead and put your choke. Put your choke back on. Come over here with it. Choke wires back on. Then you're going to make sure your other gasket that's supposed to be on there is ready. Put that on. Now the gasket's on. Next will go the choke arm plate. Put that back on. You can slide the choke back in there. And then you don't forget to tighten it up. Put that back on. Put your breather tube back on. Your 10 millimeter bolts. Get tongue tied today. It's not good. We're all human. Well, the storm passed us. Milton's gone past some of Southeast Georgia. That's passed over us. Hope nobody died in this one. God bless those that lost their businesses and houses and they can recover quickly. I don't think insurance companies have flood insurance like they used to. I know we don't have to have it. I was gonna have it. I started out with calling the insurance company and they said, "Oh no, we don't cover that no more. That's a FEMA thing." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then we got it was $500 first year. Second year it went up. Third year it went up. This year it was like $850. I was like, "Nope." Told the wife not doing it. I just put money in the savings. But anyways, back to the repair. This gets sidetracked a little bit. All right, so these are 10 millimeter. I want to make sure they're tight. Like I said, I've tried getting a socket on it. You can't do it. It have to be a box end. And you got to be careful. You don't want to pull up against the plastic. You got to love plastic. You only get little bitty turns on it. There ain't no room in here to work. You can't put the box end on it. You got to have the opening. And you want to tighten these up, snug them up. You don't want to get too carried away with it. But you want to make sure they don't come loose either. I've had them come loose because they just weren't tight enough. There's no washer on it. There's a little bitty ridge on it, of course, that catches it and locks it down. I'm going too fast. I apologize, but this is not hard. Somebody at home that has a golf cart and you want to maintain it yourself, you can do it. Make sure you change your oil on every year. I run 30 weight because it's hotter down here. I don't run 10W30. I just run strictly the 30 weight. Make sure you got a good strong battery. So far so good. Now let's just check this choke cable again and make sure it's tight. And it's snugged up. We'll check it real quick. See? That's your choke. That's your throttle arm. Got the fuel on it. All right, now let's go ahead and put the breather tube back on. Get the hose clamp back on it. Put your breather tube back on. This goes up to your air filter, of course. Gotta have that. You don't want to be pulling any dust or dirt. You don't need to. Just tear up the motor. Take your flat tip. Hold on a minute. I'm gonna bring my flat tip back over with me. All right, take your flat tip. Tighten up your hose clamp. Don't forget to tighten up everything. Do a double check on everything. I always take the belt off this engine because it takes that pedal to push it. You know, I got it turned off. All right, hold on, I dropped my screwdriver. So I'm trying to do everything one-handed. Come on, man. All right. Just snug it up. And that's good. Now put your crankcase breather tube back on. And this keeps vaporized stuff, goes in the carburetor. Make sure that's back on. That's where your pliers comes into place. Let me switch hands real quick. Put your clamps back on. Don't want nothing coming off. We'll test it here in a second. Clamps back on. Okay, I got it transmission neutral, even though I got the belt off it. I'll turn it on. Push the gas pedal. And that's the carburetor I just rehabbed. It wouldn't do that before. I had to choke it all the time. Yeah, that's why I take the belt off it, so you can free spin everything. You don't have to worry about this thing running away on you. And that's it. All right, now turn it back off. Now we'll go ahead and put the belt back on. Then we'll go for a test drive. It was cutting in and out, wasn't getting fuel. I put a new fuel pump in, new fuel filter. I checked everything. Give it a little bit of, yeah, I didn't even have the gas turned on. So I turn the gas back on. Let's go ahead and do another test. Get that pump to put some fuel up into there. Everything good, nothing back there. I'll choke a little bit, get some, there we go. All right, I think we're good to go. Turn it back off. I leave it in neutral. This is a friction clutch. It spins on centrifugal and then it draws friction on your belt. Put it back on. Start it at the top. I'm just giving you, this is how I do it. And then there you go. Now your belt's back on. All right. I still got it neutral. I'll put the seat back on, but I'm pretty confident my test drive will be fine. Check your battery. I got a trickle charger on it. I bought it online. Occasionally, once a month, I'll throw it on there, make sure that battery's tight. Clean your terminals. Take a wire brush, clean them. Take and treat it with some red. Make sure that they don't get corroded over on you. Keep your battery strong. And your golf cart should run a long time. Henry, the Weed Your Man out. Have a good Thursday.